Welcome to Total War Profiled, and today we are looking into the historical accuracy of, Sparta, also known in the game as the Greek city-states, completely inaccurate as a faction, and yet secretly the most accurate of them all. Let's begin with the main issue. This faction did not exist, and it is incredibly weird how they have been portrayed in-game, but I think I have found out what the Greeks are based off. Now, it does not seem to be a generic union of Greek culture, otherwise they would control Macedonia and parts of the Iberian coast, as shown in Greek mod. It's not just Greek major powers, otherwise they would control Athens. Okay, to get the answer of why the Greek cities looks the way it does, we must first look at each province separately. First, Sparta, the capital. Let's take a look at Sparta at their height. Although they did not hold Thermon, they held the region that Thermon covers. Okay, so why is Syracuse under the Greeks? Well, Syracuse was an ally of Sparta, and that explains that triangle of those three settlements there. Okay, so why is Rhodes and Pergamon under the Greeks? Okay, it's not a perfect explanation. Overall, it seems the Greek city-states was decided to be Spartan lands and Spartan allies, but then they added Pergamon for entertainment regions, making the faction more spread out and unique, and Rhodes for balance purposes. But the Spartan references do not end here. The Greek cities was made to represent Sparta, and that is strongly shown in the royal family of the faction, as every family member has of Sparta as their title, like Bob of Sparta, Steve of Sparta, stuff like that. A quick side note before we get into the family members, many of them have the retinue Mentor to represent Greek intelligence, and the trait Sharp to represent the training they underwent as Spartans. Into the family members. The game's faction leader is Cleomenes of Sparta. Historically, he could represent any of the three known Cleomeneses who were Spartan kings. He has a few military traits, including a trait called Spartan and a retinue of Messala, both to represent his strength as a Spartan king. His eldest son in-game is called Dionysios, and starts in Syracuse. Well, I did actually find a Dionysius I of Syracuse. Dionysius has a retinue in Venta. In a novel involving Dionysius I of Syracuse, called Arrows of Hercules, he is described as supporting inventors, which is an interesting small detail the devs put in there. Dionysius was also a fan of literature, and often had men of high writing skills accompany him. In-game, he has a retinue playwright to represent this. In all of Rome Total War, he is probably the most accurately depicted we have yet seen. There was a Macedonian leader named Antigonus II of Gonatus. He was once a friend of a Spartan, Cleomenes. In-game, there is an Antigonus, depicted as Cleomenes' second eldest son, a third accurate leader. This man has a retinue poet, and yes, historically, he was known to have liked poetry and literature. Then again, he was Greek, so I think it's safe to assume that he liked poetry and literature. It does not end there. Already in terms of the royal family of this faction, it is the most accurate in all of Rome Total War. Now, all of these characters so far are wildly out of date, but they usually seem to match each other, and all be alive near the same time. I found a Eumenes to exist at the same time as the rest of them, shown in game as Eumenes, the third eldest son. Eumenes starts the game in Pergamon. Historically, he was a Macedonian general who famously fought at the Battle of the Hellespont, the Anatolian side of Greece. I believe that this is the man he was based off. And now, with the fifth and final male general of age, the Greek city-states and their royal family, the man who starts off in Rhodes is called Memnon, famously inspired from Memnon of Rhodes, a mercenary who was hired by the Persians to stop Alexander the Great in his early days of invading Persia. It actually still does not end, as even the children who are not of age have some background, which we never see this in Rome Taught to War. Cleon of Sparta seems to be an accurate Spartan in history. Hermine, based off Hermione, who in mythology was the only daughter of Menelaus, the Spartan king in the stories of Troy. And Dorus, who I believed is based off Dorian, son of Helen of Troy. Some of these are mythology and not all from the right time period, but you have to give the devs some credit still, and some leeway I guess, as they have so many names here that I just have to ignore the couple of accuracy issues that are present. 8 accurate characters, I cannot believe it. Not only that, but they also have accurate traits and retinues. This is by far the most accurate faction we have come across. And I never thought I would say it would be for the Greek city-states. Okay, but here is my theory on why this faction is so accurate, despite being inaccurate. It all comes down to the development of the game. The game was set to not feature the Greeks, but instead have Illyria in the game. Eventually this faction was scrapped, things moved around, and by the time the game left alpha and entered the beta stage, we had the Greeks. Meaning that the Greek cities were the final faction for the devs to create, but this was still done a while before release. So this allowed more time for the research and more care into the faction, as they realised this would be the final faction for them to develop. So I guess they just decided to make this faction as accurate as they possibly could. Also, there's the vast amount of available sources they would have had access to, thanks to the Greeks writing most of their stuff down. Moving on now to the buildings. The Greeks have access to 4 temples. Athena, goddess of wisdom, provides a law bonus. Aphrodite, goddess of love and beauty, provides a population growth. You can tell what the devs were getting at there. Hermes, god of boundaries, provides a trade boost. And Nike, god of sports, shoes and clothing, provides military experience for units trained in that settlement. If you're wondering, Nike was actually the goddess of victory. Sparta starts with a 2nd tier barracks with the ability to jump straight into 3rd tier, to represent the military side of Sparta. It also starts off with a temple of Nike, adding to the military experience of units from that settlement. As for the units of the Greek cities, the faction is not that special. It's mostly just phalanxes at different tiers. However, there's 3 points I want to make. Cretan Archers. This is a real unit. They even have their own Wikipedia page. These archers even existed into the medieval era, so it would be accurate if the devs were to add them into medieval 2 Taught to War. Number 2. Roadie and Slingers. These are also a real thing, known for being a very experienced slinger unit with great range, as shown in game. And number 3. The Spartans. These are of course accurate. They are even depicted in game accurately with their red cape. The unit has 2 hit points, representing the strength of Spartans. Stabbing them once will not be enough to bring one of these men down to their knees, is what they're trying to say with that. Now, there is one thing that gets pointed out quite a bit in the comments, and that is the length of the phalanxes. Now, a phalanx hoplite unit had a spear of historically 2.5 meters long. The average height of a Greek man at the time was around 1.6 meters tall. After doing some very professional testing, you can see here the spear is 2.5 Greek men in length, putting the in-game spear at 4.8 meters, not 2.5 meters. I can never look at Rome Taught to War the same way again. And that is everything for today. I do hope you enjoyed and learned something. Overall, this is surprisingly the most accurate faction there is in Rome Taught to War, primarily due to the family members. Usually we only see 1 accurate member, sometimes 2, but the Greeks have gone all out with 8 members. 8 members! I know the faction did not exist, but still the amount of research into the family compared to the other factions is incredible. And I will, therefore, give this faction 4.5 stars out of 5 for their accuracy. If they were called Sparta, I probably would have gone and given them 5 stars. It's only the name that hinders them, really. Also, when I rank these factions, I take into account the limitations of the engine that the developers would have had access to. So they couldn't have Sparta, Athens, Epirus, Syracuse all as separate states now. They had to improvise a little bit. And I've got to understand that when ranking them. If you have enjoyed, please do like, subscribe and share with someone else you think may be interested in this video. I've been MELKOR, these are every Saturday. Goodbye.